Go. Are we on? Right, we're on. If I can get my phone sorted.
Oh, we've lost Norrie. I think Norrie will be trying to get himself back in. So we're broadcasting after an absolutely fantastic result. I don't think you could say the same about the performance, but 3 points in the bag from Scotland last night against a really, really difficult opponent. So I think we're all relieved here in the studio. Chris, what did you make of the game?
I think in the old cliche, it's a game of two halves. I think it was a game of 3/3 really, and the first two were pretty bad. The first two were the bad old Scotland, I think, that we all know and don't really love. But the third one just seemed to. It was a bit like Aberdeen's season. I hate bringing them in again, but just it was a bit like Aberdeen's season last year. They came to a point, and it was literally turned on its head. So the game for me was exactly the same as that. I didn't see it coming. It was a bit like I was down in London when we played Norway and they went 1-up, and Haaland and all that, they were bringing him off and the game was over, but suddenly Scotland came back to life. So for me, they went from a team that wouldn't even chase to a team that somehow ended up in control of the game.
Yeah, no, I couldn't disagree. Oddly enough, that was the same match I was thinking about when I was watching it, and I was hoping that we would turn it around like that. But obviously, hopefully not too late on in the game. And we were totally outplayed by Norway in that match. And then the goal, you've heard it before. It's a cliche. Goals change games. As soon as we scored that one, they switched off. And then we got the second one, and you could just see it in their faces. And it was again the same last night. I thought personally. Once we got the equaliser, having not played at all for 60 minutes, and a lot of that being down to the players, not really Steve Clarke. He made a couple of changes. He brought Gilmour on. I would disagree with taking Doak off. I think most of us would have, but he obviously knew what he's doing. He pushed Ferguson further forward. We went one behind, and then that's it. We started to press. It was, as I said, it was almost like they took the shackles off the players, and it was a different game. And what I found really interesting was as soon as I think we had before that. Well, overall we had 33% possession, and it's hard to win matches with figures like that. But the Greeks lost it. They'd been so good, and obviously they've been very frustrated. They didn't bring their shooting boots. There's quite a few went blazing over the bar, or they nodded them over, kind of thing. And they couldn't handle it. They lost their discipline, and I think that's going to cost them big time. It cost them last night because they gave away a free kick. Ferguson wins the free kick, and then we score from that one. That's the winner ultimately, and I think the discipline will cost them later in the tournament. Hi, Norrie. How's it going? You all got your technical issues sorted?
I think it was a wee bit of a power cut, but we've got it all back up and running. So sorry about that, guys. You're just talking about the Scotland game, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. All smiling and relieved.
What was your view? Sorry, Chris, what was your view on it? Did you think after 60 odd minutes that was it gone? Shouting at the telly, Steve Clarke should resign?
Or tweeting about it. In your case, bang, send. No, I'm going to send it, Christine. I'm going to send it. There you go. But I didn't look like scoring. Definitely didn't look like defending. Literally 2 yards off every single player. And I'm actually no long back starting 5-a-sides again. So I can relate to that because that's literally what I do with any player I'm trying to mark. It's like I might as well be 2 yards away from him because I'm not going to beat him. And when he starts, then. But that's me. This isn't an international team you're talking about. So I think we gave them far, far, far too much respect. Okay, we ended up a 3-0 drubbing, and Steve Clarke did say, well, come half time in the last game in March, we were 2-0 down, so we didn't want to repeat that. And he's absolutely spot on. But I think the pattern for me for Scotland was set piece and follow through. The 3 goals followed that pattern. I think first one was a corner, and Christie you could see him moving to, it just moving. The players didn't exist for him. He took a chance and he thought the ball's going to land here. Sure enough, it did. Ferguson slashed away at it, and Dykes as well, and then a free kick. So essentially, the three set pieces and 3 players falling through and anticipating, which for the first 60 minutes we can all admit that it wasn't even no anticipating. It was they knew the players were there, but they just literally didn't. They were spooked. I think they just didn't want to get near them.
But the thing is, Glenn, when that goal went in like Tsimikas, we were expecting maybe an onslaught, a real drubbing, but the team galvanised and started to win it. It's a bit like the game in Norway where we come back in the last 10 minutes. There was something in this squad that just drives them on. But I've got to say, there was a few passengers last night, and I'm glad Shea Adams was hooked, because he was not chasing, he was not running down defenders. When you saw Lyndon Dykes come on, he was chasing down every lost cause, and look at it got him in the end. He got us over the line.
No, absolutely. When you had your wee power cut, we were saying that as well, that it reminded us very much of the Norway game. And I mean, as Rab might say, like, a win's a win for that, etc. But I don't know if you heard William Miller, and he said last night, we were given a football lesson, but we gave a lesson on winning. And I thought that summed it up. There's a resilience in the team. So even so they weren't pressing, they weren't playing well. They were given far too much space and time to the opponents. But when they could, it's almost like they saw their dreams disappearing when the goal went in. Smikes, typical Smike. I mean, that was, I think, his first goal in 7 years, and he chose to score against us, But anyway, he did us a favour later on. Remember when he almost elbowed Ferguson? We got a free kick, and we scored the winner from that, So, yeah, you're definitely right. There is a resilience there. They don't give up. It's not pretty to watch. I think most of the country was relieved when Dykes scored that goal, the third. I mean, honestly, that's it. That's the first time you could relax the entire match. Gunn, you really have to give plaudits to Gunn, because he's played no football at all, and he pulled a worldie out of the bag there, kind of thing. He just got his fingertips to it when the Greek wonder kid came on, and that was going in. That was top corner, postage stamp goal, and Gunn saved us. And then we go up and we sucker punch them.
Yeah, I know. It seemed all too good to be true, Chris, didn't it? That they couldn't score a goal. Well, that was a cracking shot. Gunn saved it well, but that's what he's paid to do, to be honest. He does that in training all the time, even if he's not playing, Glenn. And then all three goals were in the roof of the net. They were all banged in. It wasn't tap-ins. They were all, as if we need this goal, and it was done with fury. Where's Scotland lucky? The ball landed. The ball can land anywhere in the box. They could clear it 9 times out of 10, but it just landed to Scottish feet. But it's at the ploy, though, create havoc in the goalmouth and see what comes from it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you do it, I mean, I should know. I've had my fair share of OGs, but exactly that. If the ball's in and about, then anything goes. And equally, just like in the Belarus game, one of their players could have put it in. But I mean, the ball didn't fall to Christie. He anticipated that, and he was running 5-10 yards before it. And you gamble, and the ball came, and he had a lovely finish. So that was, that can be. And again, with Dykes, he slashed at it to keep it in the park. But the defender who was a lot nearer the keeper than Dykes was at the start of this just gave up, and Dykes didn't. So, I mean, you don't do that, then I think you deserve it. And the finish with Dykes was great, because I like the way he went really high, because if there's a defender on the line, the chances of him being able to, A, wanting to react and stick your head in it, and B, actually being able to do that, it's a different matter. So the finishes were good. And one of the things I would say that probably disheartened them a wee bit was just how quickly we scored after that. Suddenly it was as if it was a Dave Neary toe poke against Brazil. I came alive after that.
I know, but we were all nervous, Glenn, because 2-1's never an easy scoreline to deal with, especially with the team like Greece. We've got good attacking options, but if Lyndon Dykes didn't chase down that ball, it wouldn't have gone in. It would have been, out. The goalie might have got back up and scrambled to get it a second time, but he was there, and he put us all to rest. Does that make Steve Clarke a good manager or a bloody lucky one?
Well, I don't think it makes him a bloody lucky one. I think what was it? I think last night's game was mixing the record breaker for the having the most games in charge, 71 or 72 matches. So I mean, you have to just look around the SPFL. I mean, if you don't win matches, if you don't qualify for tournaments or do well in your league, you will not be around for a length of time. So employers are relatively happy with them, e.g., the SFA. Fans up and down. It all depends at which point in his Scotland career, whether you think he's a good manager or not. But as I was saying to Chris earlier, I don't think you can actually put a lot of the blame on Clark for this, for the first 60 minutes. He put in a very experienced team. Now, you can always argue about who we think should go in there. I mean, like prior to the last 3 matches, I've been always saying, "Oh, Hanley, why Hanley?" But he's been relatively solid the last 3 games, and he's stuck with them. So Doak was starting, Gannon Doak. I was happy about that. Gilmer wasn't. No one's ever going to look at a Scotland team and say, "Oh yeah, that." Well, if you do, it's very rare. But you say that's the 11 that I would start with. So he put out probably a very, almost the most experienced team you could put on the park, kind of thing. Apart from Gannon Doak, and Craig Gordon in goals. Apart from that, really experienced. They didn't turn up. They did not turn up. They made basic errors. They did not press. There was far too much space given to the Greek players for the goal. I know there'll always be mistakes in games, etc. But for the goal, we've got 4 Scotland defenders and midfielders around it, 2 Greek midfielders. Just letting them pass it back and forth. Then it starts to move. Then there's 2 passes inside the box, and then when Smikers scores, there's 2.5 yards to the nearest Scotland player. He's got time just to actually put that exactly where he wants it. In 7 minutes, the ball that went across the goal mouth, across the goal line. Okay, so Hickey does it. Yeah, Hickey doesn't stop the pass into the box, and then Ferguson doesn't stop the cross going across, and Hanley doesn't realise that the guy behind him has peeled off him. Now he's inches away from scoring. There's another couple where they headed over, they blazed over, etc. They didn't bring their shooting boots, but we could have been in trouble, and that's experienced players. So I mean, the thing that got it for me was I disagreed with Doak coming off, and I think most of the stadium probably disagreed. There was lots of boos, and he brings on Gilmer, who I would have started. He gives you so much. He controls the game. He sees passes. He's calm and composed. He never panics. And that's what we were missing in midfield. We had no possession for the first 60 minutes. But he pushed Ferguson forward. And later on, that wins us the game.
But on that, Chris, you would have said McTominay in that team all day long, but he wasn't that great last night.
No, I was post-it missing. I mean, normally you'll get 2 spectacular goals off of him, and normally the ball, for a big man, the ball just sticks to his feet. It can be stumbling towards the deck, and somehow he'll reach out a leg and get it. So he's like an ibex, as I would say, but he's sure-footed. He's sure-footed, but I think with Doak did look a bit frustrated. You could see him on the left there. The ball came to him, and he sort of slashed at it and missed it, and it did look a bit, it did look a bit irritated. But I would slightly disagree with Glenn in that if you can't get a manager shouting in the side of the touchline to say, look, the cliche touch tight, you don't need to beat the guy, but at least if you're in the air beside him when he goes up or whatever, and because Hanley with that Pavlidis, he did what most defenders should do. He put his hand behind him and touched the guy, and then but at that point, that's your signal to get goal side for that one cross. You know where the guy is then. Well, that's fine. Get behind him. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you would, for me, I would put it back on the manager that if nothing else, technical skills are different matter, but you at least should be next to the guys. So I don't know how they got this sudden fear. Maybe it was thinking back to the last 3-0 game. I don't know, but they certainly looked rattled.
That's the point, isn't it? Where did they get these tactics from? They were told to press, but don't go too far up. They were pressing too deep, Glenn, and we were giving them space. They played the 20 minutes in the second half in our half, passing the ball about, spraying it everywhere, and we're screaming, "Get tighter, get tighter! Look where your man is. Don't give him space." Because when we got the ball, there was 3 guys on that one guy playing the ball. And in 3 occasions, I noticed we were played off the park. They had nowhere to go. of the park. Now that is junior football. In fact, junior football is even better than that. You can either hit the ball off the guy's legs and get the ball, play the shy. 3 guys are still there, play it quick. There was something missing. And in the dressing room at the start, you've got to have a manager who's screaming at them, this is what you're going to do. Play for the fans out there. It seems that was missing. It seems there was no enthusiasm to score in the first half from Scotland.
I don't think you actually have to have a manager that's screaming or anything like that at all. There's different styles of management, etc. Clark's not that guy, but he has taken us to 2 tournament, finals. Not played well when we got there. Lots of issues about that kind of thing, but that's not his style. Those guys out there, almost to a man, are very, very experienced. Okay, they should. If you're telling me that McGinn, McTominay, etc., with like tons and tons of caps between them, if they can't get up for a game that is so important, then they shouldn't be in that team. That it didn't click. I think you've got to look at it. I mean, McGinn he actually played okay, I think. McTominay is playing out of sorts at Napoli. He's been moved on to the side because of Kevin De Bruyne, and so he's not having the same kind of influence. Maybe he's not got up and running completely yet. There was a lot of this is on the players. There was a lot of basic mistakes. You talk about the press, absolutely. Yeah, you need the press, but we were doing individual presses, not team presses. Sometimes 1 or 2 would go, but not all of them. Greece are too good; they'll pass around us. But as when the goal went in, it changed, and it shouldn't get to that point. You're right. They should come out all fired up, but they froze, and they have done this before. Remember the playoff against Ukraine didn't turn up. The playoff, the Nations League one against Greece didn't turn up. We've done this, we've done this repeatedly before, kind of thing. It does actually happen, but I don't think you can't really put a lot of that on Clark when seasoned pros are doing basics, making basic errors.
But Chris, Denmark put 6 against Belarus last night, and Scotland got an own goal and a goal. It just shows you the gulf that's still there between Scotland and an emerging, getting stronger Denmark. I don't think Scotland can get stronger from this. I think that is the problem with me. I think that's where we've peaked last night, and I don't think we're going to get further than that.
Well, I mean, everybody throws stats about, so I'll be no different. 3 shots on target, 3 goals. So for me, there was a time, obviously, during the Norway game, but I think against Serbia and Israel, we were getting late goals, and for me, that plays in the mind of teams. That always, there was a time where last year with Aberdeen doing the same, and that really, that's more or less a goal up because the team know that they can't relax. So I'm hoping that it's more a hope really than an expectation that Scotland will start being renowned for that again. That you literally can't switch off against them because they're going to hit you late. And as far as McTominay, I remember when he was getting played at centre half, and I'm thinking a guy who's so tactically astute, he just doesn't really seem to understand that if there's a guy in the box next to him, he's got to mark this guy. Whatever's happening literally a millimetre away from this guy is utterly irrelevant. So, in what I would regard as an easy position to play, it was definitely out his depth. So maybe the moving around in Napoli has unnerved him a wee bit, possibly. I think he'll come back, but no, I would disagree, Norrie. I think the players we've got, we should be better than what we were last night, and on everything else being equal, then I think Denmark are they've got better players. There's no doubt about that, but we could certainly challenge them a lot more than we challenged Greece for the first 62 minutes last night. I think we're capable of far more than that.
I do expect a better game against Belarus, Glenn, at Hampden.
I don't know. Well, yeah. I expect much more possession from Scotland.
Yeah.
If you look at Belarus, they've ceded about 70 odd percent to almost every team that's played them. Greece were about 60 odd, but they're going to give us the ball. But that poses a lot of problems for Scotland. Remember, take you back to the Euros. I know it's quite traumatic, but basically you had Hungary versus Scotland. Both teams, not very good in possession. We can break them down, and then they hit us on the break. And I can see that again. They're gonna put 11 people behind the ball. We're gonna have to break them down. Where's that going to come from? I don't know. I do think we'll do it, but we're not free flowing. We're not Denmark. We're not going to knock 6 past them or anything like that at all. I mean, I'll bite your hand off right now for a 1-0. It would be a horrible. It'll be a horrible watch, but it's very Scotland-like to do the hard job and then fail at the one that you're supposed to. Although what gives me a bit of confidence is there's an amazing stat kicking about there just now is that we have not lost a home World Cup qualifier in 12 years.
Well, that is amazing. It doesn't feel like it. But
no.
in the group itself, Chris, what are we hoping for? Greece are playing Denmark over in Denmark. Are we hoping for a Denmark win so that's Greece completely out? And then we get a playoff place, because I think going over Athens will be a really tough game for us. It won't be a walkover, as the BBC were suggesting last night. Or do we hope for a draw? And hopefully they can fight out between themselves for the other place. What is it we're hoping for on their game?
I would hope initially just now for a draw. That's what I'd be hoping for. I don't know what month we're playing Greece right enough, but obviously the summer's kicking on now, so the temperatures are going to be decent enough. But no, I would hope for a draw. You don't really want Denmark to be out there too much in front, I would say. Definitely not. And as far as the Belarus game goes, I think we have to let the ball do the work. Just test them, mix it up and test them. We don't need to be running past players or whatever. Just a bit of clever football and ideally an early goal. But that's certainly what I'm hoping for. But no, I would hope for a draw between Denmark and Greece. But I don't know about yous.
I'm the same. I hope they have a dogfight between themselves for second place, and Scotland can ramp up the middle and get the first place. But it'll never be like that, Glenn. Well, it'll be us to the playoffs and then glorified in defeat because we couldn't get to the final place.
I really, really hope not. There's this horrible nightmare scenario where it doesn't matter what we beat Belarus, Denmark and Greece draw, and then Greece beat us, then Greece thump Belarus. We get beat by we get beat in our final match, and we're locked on points with Greece, but they qualify for the playoff on goal difference, and that is just so Scottish,
I know.
Personally, I'm inclined to think drop points because you want to be ambitious. You want to top the group. It's going to be very hard, but you want to go for it. There's no point. It's really awful to be playing for second place. Probably it's where we'll end up if we have a reasonable campaign. We could get we might get second place, and then we've got. I don't know if you guys have looked into the actual playoffs. They are a nightmare. I wish to avoid them. So there's the 12 second place teams, and then the 4 best placed teams from the Nations League go in. So all 16 teams go in, and you go into a 4-team kind of little group. You're drawn against two semi-finals with the higher ranked country. They get to play at home, just a one-leg like semi-final, and then the 2 that advance from there, they play a final with the higher ranked team again playing at home. And that's a nightmare. Last time we did that, was it not us against Ukraine, and then whoever won that was to play Wales, and we didn't get past Ukraine. Yeah, so
that's right. But Chris, I tell you what, the SFA accountants will be looking at it and thinking a few more extra games that'll do us.
They'll be phoning farm foods to get the pies in, and
yeah.
I mean, it just is. I'm amazed that they can fit the amount of fixtures in that they do, but they seem to. I don't know there's no governing body over all of this, but they seem to manage to be able to negotiate it. So that's pretty good. But no, I mean, you don't want to be looking at second place, because I think we've ridden the luck in playoffs, to be honest. So are just not deserved it. So yeah,
No.
you want to be looking. And just to repeat, I don't think, and I've often proven wrong, but just we can play as bad as we did in that first 60, 62 odd minutes. So I'm hoping that was a dip that we get a lucky bounce from.
Well, do you know this, Glenn? If that goal had gone in the first half, in the first 6 minutes, that could have been a different scoreline last night, and it might have reflected the game. 63% possession, and they were all over us. We could have seen the sacking or the resigning of Steve Clark, and then we'd have to start again.
The SFA aren't sacking and he's not resigning. He'll see out whatever happens. He'll see out the campaign, and obviously I think looks like it's going to be his last. He wants to take the country to the World Cup tournament. So no, it would have been a completely different result if they scored in 7 minutes as well. I mean, they were totally dominant. But you've also got, I think Chris mentioned this earlier. Despite their dominance, they kind of resemble like Scotland of old. They didn't create much with it. They had some chances that went wide, etc. But they only had 3 shots on target. We had 3 shots on target, scored all 3. You can call that lucky, or you can call that really clinical finishing, whatever you want to say about it. They had 3, and they were dealt with. They scored 1. So I don't know. I think Greece. Well, I've got a theory here about why Greece lost this match. Okay, other than not taking their shooting boots with them. Okay, and it's their ill discipline. So we've talked about the stats, and we've talked about. So they actually had 67% possession. We had 33%. Okay, we committed 12 fouls. Okay, we're basically defending for the majority of that match, and we only committed 12 fouls. That's really, really good. They had possession for 67% of the game. They committed 19 fouls. Okay, now that's they got 4 bookings. One of the fouls led to the winning goal from Ferguson. Okay, now 4 of those, so they've got 4 players booked. They've got players booked earlier on. So currently they're going into a match. So that cost them the game, I think, or it contributed to them losing the game because they gave that goal away. Then they go and play Denmark. Now they've got their first choice left back, Smikers. He's on a yellow. They've got both first choice centre backs on a yellow. They've got their 2 first choice CDMs on a yellow. There is no way they are getting out of that game without all these defensive players. At least 2 of them, maybe 3, will get yellows, and they'll be ruled out for the Scotland match. Now they're going to go in. Whatever happens, if they get a draw, they might even win. They might get beat, but they'll still be in contention for some. Well, if they get beat, they're out of it. But if they get a draw, they're in contention. They'll have to. It'll be a must-win against Scotland, and they're going to be going in with a defence that has not played together. So that's all down to their ill discipline.
Yeah, it's a good point, Glenn. But it really depends what strength and depth they have as a squad. Can other players of likely ability step in? I think they probably have. So will it make a difference? Don't know. But we'll need to wait and see. They've got plenty of time before Scotland go to Athens to get a team organised. And I tell you what, that coach is a wily old fella, Chris. He'll be watching how they played. He won't make the same mistakes again. He'll be saying, take your chances while you can, because this defence is ropey. And I'm worried. I am really worried that, again, I'll reiterate this. This is where we've peaked. This is peak Scotland. When we come to play other teams, we'll be fun out. And then even if we do get a playoff, it's a long, arduous task to get through that. Are we up for it? Have we got the squads? Have we got the players? Have we got the manager? I don't know.
I think we've definitely got the squad. Without a doubt, I think we're vastly improved than what we were maybe 5 years ago. But Tsimikas, I think he should have been off anyway for that McGinn challenge. I don't see how he stayed on the park for that. So, and I mean, Norrie, you're saying that they'll players to step in. That's technically, if you look at the guy and go, right, let's do the top trumps. All right, he's got the same numbers there, but he's no used to playing in the team. I mean, that's the big thing, and obviously, I think Glenn's going down this sort of chess player analysis of this. And I think that's great because in this day and age, every advantage you can get fairly, then you've got to look at. So yeah, I mean, you would have to argue that they can play and that they're all really talented players, but yeah, they shouldn't have been getting the bookings they've got if they're that in control. And as I say, Simicast, he should have walked. So it's again, it comes back to a draw is looking like a good proposition for us. But the main thing is, I think Belarus are down their luck. They don't travel well. I know it's only Hungary, but for them it might as well be the other end of the earth. But I think what we need to do is just maybe do a Greece and just try and control the game, but let the ball do the work, because there's nothing that gets you more tired than just chasing and chasing. And you know that's what we need to do. The playoffs and all these permutations, they seem to be, for me, a long way away. So I'm not too worried about them just now. We just need to, if it's luck or whatever, but we just need to win the next game and keep the pressure on the other teams in the group.
Sorry, can I chip in just with one little point? You said a couple of times that this is peak Scotland, but I can't disagree more. Peak Scotland was how we played against Spain. Both those matches we played really, really well. We were unlucky. We had a perfectly good goal chopped off in one of them as well from Scott McTominay, from the free kick down by the corner. We played brilliantly. So the potential there for us is still there. Yeah, absolutely. So we have not peaked. We can do a lot better than we have been playing, but he's obviously got to get a tune out of them. And for some reason, some of those players haven't been turning up in the last few matches.
Yeah. Glenn, can we have last week's quiz question to put out, and then we'll carry on, maybe get the next question for us to ponder over, test our metal.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So last week I asked, which 5 Scottish clubs have reached the semi-finals of the European Cup Champions League, whatever you want to call it. And you guys got any thoughts?
Champions League, it's not Celtic and Rangers. Celtic and Rangers. Dundee United. Now we're Dunfermline, and what'd you say? 5?
5, yeah.
Going back in time.
So I would have said Dunfermline as well. Wraith Rovers, I'll throw it in there.
I'll say Dundee. Dundee were a good team with Gillane and Mackay and place. That's my guess. All
right. So Chris, you've got 3. And Norrie, you've got 4. It is Hibs, 55-56. Dundee, 62-63. Rangers, 59. Let's see, Celtic, 66-67. And United, 83-84. I mean, that is, for a small country, that's fairly impressive.
I know. Hibs, I didn't get Hibs. That's. I didn't. Honestly, I'll need to keep that in the memory banks for again, because that's going to come up, I'm sure.
Yeah. So next question then.
Next question for the quiz.
Okay, Scotland stalwart Darren Fletcher, capped 80 times for his country, played his entire senior career in England, but for which 3 clubs?
3 clubs. Oh, Man United. Where did he go? Did he go after that, or did he? Oh man.
Was it West Brom?
I'm thinking
Sunderland. West Brom and Sunderland, I'll guess.
Right. It's 3 clubs, Glenn, isn't it?
Yeah, 3 clubs. Yeah.
So you're saying West Brom, Sunderland, and Man United. Something tells me he went to Everton to play, or he came from Everton. And Burnley. I'll go Burnley.
Right, you're going Man U, Everton, and Burnley, and Chris, you're going Man U, West Brom, and was it Sunderland?
Sunderland.
Yeah. Chris, you've got 2. It's Man U, West Brom, and Stoke City.
Stoke City.
Oh, there you go.
Man. Why did I think he went to Everton or came from Everton? Must be another player. Somebody else.
McFadden?
Could be.
McFadden went to Everton.
Yeah, it was McFadden. Think of him. But I didn't get you got 1 out of that, Chris. I got nothing out of that. So that's your one. There's been a managerial merry-go-round. Russell Martin The guy's sitting pretty, actually, Glenn, because he's got millions from his contract that he hasn't fulfilled. But in the clauses, if he was sacked, he would still get his full salary. This is hitting Rangers really hard because they can't afford that. They can't afford players. Or is it Sevco we've got to call them? But we'll call them Rangers for tonight. And it looks like a guy who's done nothing in managerial terms, great player, Steven Gerrard, is taking the reins again. Your thoughts?
Ooh, well, I'm quite happy. Gerrard, if Gerrard comes back, that's really good. The rumour I've heard is he's coming back on a 5-year contract, and that's phenomenal. And that smacks of desperation in the sense that obviously if he comes back, these are his terms. Rangers really need, to like get the fans off their back. He was the guy that stopped Celtic having the 10 in a row, but he in was it 3 seasons at Rangers? He only won 1 trophy. It was a very important one. It was a title. It's the only title they've won since I think 2011 or 2012. But anyway, it's only senior title they've won. So the fans will be happy because who else is going to come in? He's got a really good record against Celtic. But he's not a proven winner. And the 2 clubs he went to afterwards, I think he just lasted about, was it a year or something at Aston Villa? He left them in, I think they were 17th. They were just above relegation. When he went to Saudi Arabia, he left that team. They were 12th and they were 5 points above the relegation zone. He's going to cost a fortune. And crucially, if you look back, I remember when he came in, they got a lot of players. He took in something like 11 or 12 players, Connor Goldson, all these kind of guys from Liverpool. He spent a fair bit of money. A lot of the fees were undisclosed, but he still spent a lot of money. He released or transferred out about 15, 16. That was his first season. He had big moves again in the second season. He didn't win anything until the third season. He's coming into Rangers just now, and he's got to work with a bunch of players that aren't his signings.
Yeah.
How is he going to get a tune out of them? He's not going to. He's going to have limited funds as well.
I think he'll get a tune, all right.
Yeah, wouldn't it be a good tune?
No, but that tune will be.
They spent their player budget, in the summer, and they spent a fair bit of money. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
The thing is, Chris, the board will be happy because this is what the fans have been demanding, and the board have got very little options about who they can choose. Because Derek McInnes I think he was teetering. If he was offered that job, he'd have gone across from Hearts, despite what he's doing with Hearts, because he's a blue nose. And there was somebody else, Muscat was involved, apparently.
Yeah.
So the board must be thinking, this is what the fans want. Because on all the channels and all the podcasts and Sky and all the rest of them, they're demanding Stevie G.
Yeah, I know, but if they want a 1-in-a-row manager for over 3 seasons, then that's essentially
5 years.
If he's true to form, then that's what he's going to deliver. But quite ironic, all the wee Neds sort of try to stop a Douglas Park bus leaving the state. You couldn't even make this up.
I know.
No, if they want him, then they've got him. But I would say in McInnes' defence, they tried to tap him up when he was at Aberdeen. They said no.
Right,
so
yeah.
I think it's a poison chalice. I don't. What's this one guy coming in? So, don't get me wrong, Celtic are in the doldrums just now, but Celtic in the doldrums means very near the top of the league and struggling to score a wee bit. But they're not at the stage where every other team in the bottom half of the league's taking points off them. So yeah, a 5-year contract that's unbelievable. The money that it would cost to get rid of him when he comes in, takes on a team that he inherits a team. He won't have much money to go sideways, I'm guessing, but and getting other guys in. And initially as well, when he first came in, he was able to do the old pals act and get guys that were doing okay in England, but get them up. But now he's failed twice, once in England, once in Saudi. So I think he's any sort of lingering, I wouldn't say hangover, but any sort of lingering goodwill for his time as a player, that's gone more or less. That's evaporated. So if Rangers want to bring him in a 5-year contract, and I wish him all the best, but I don't see that ending well, really, to be honest.
Well, will it be, Glenn, that wee Barry will be waiting in the wings to come back in and rescue the day after Steven Gerrard fails miserably? That's a scenario that could turn up, because there's nothing to suggest in the signing of Steven Gerrard that he's a safe and secure manager. There's nothing. It baffles me.
Yeah, it is. It's a populist decision, isn't it? Basically,
Yeah.
they want the fans off the back. I mean, they don't want the pressure that they're getting from the fans. I mean, a lot of the behaviour is out of order just now, and it's a panic move. But they've got every other decision wrong. I know it's a new board, but if you look at the managers they've actually put in place, it's just a series of managers who have failed for various reasons. Some of them are actually good managers. They've not been backed properly. They've not been given the right amount of time, etc. There's a lot of things wrong within Ibrox, and I don't think Stevie G is going to be the guy to save them. I mean, he's got a decent record as far as winning games, but not I say delivering titles. And the thing is, Rangers fans may initially be happy with him coming in, but if he doesn't deliver, he'll get a bit more time than everybody else. But if he doesn't deliver, he will not see out his 5-year contract. He'll be lucky if he sees 1.5 to 2 years. He will get through this season, I would imagine, get backed at some point during the summer to a certain extent, and he'll have another part. Then he'll get another go as well, and then at some point he'll be gone the following season, because I can't really see. Will Rangers be successful this season? No. Celtic, and I'm not saying this to upset Rangers fans or whatever, but let's look at the reality. Come January, if Celtic are still struggling, Celtic have 70 odd million in the bank. It's in their accounts. So they can actually go and sign, and if Rodgers is still there or somebody else comes in, whatever happens at Celtic, they have got the financial muscle to go and recruit properly with real quality players. And if they think they're not going to get in, get into the Champions League because they don't actually win the title, they will change that. Because the thing is, as we all know, with the coefficient, we're dropping off. It's much harder for Scottish teams to get into Europe. So Celtic have to finish first to have the easiest path next season into it. They'll still have to play qualifiers, but finishing second is a horrendous route into the Champions League. Celtic will back the manager in January if they're struggling.
Of course they will. But that brings us on, Chris. That's a point we've got to examine, because I think the board of Rangers will be hoping that they can carry on the tradition of getting into Europe, because Barry Ferguson did well for them in Europe, by the way. And they're hoping to do that again. And the only way they can do that is win trophies or come second and get back into Europe. If Hearts are on this roll and they maintain that role, and Steven Gerrard can get a tune out of this team, it could be quicker than you think where he's out of there, which makes a 5-year deal even more bizarre.
A 5-year deal for anybody, to me, in this day and age, because we know that regardless of what happens, he's not going to see that out. That's 5-year unfit, but doesn't really.
No.
If you think back to Fergie, he was maybe a couple of games away from the sack, and he turned out to be one of the best managers ever. So people just don't get that time, and if he does well, he'll be off anyway. But nah, his hands are seriously tied behind his back. And I remember Clement was saying, Beale, he was saying he was getting asked to do all these other roles were getting piled on top of him. It wasn't just coach the team. There was all sorts of other admin stuff, pardon using the word admin, but just all sorts of other roles he was getting asked to fulfill. And his argument was that he just didn't have enough time to dedicate solely to the team. So, they don't have a lot of money. The accounts that you never see would be one of my pals. He was involved a wee while ago just as an accountant. He was saying, there's loads of bad stuff going on in there. It's all smoke and mirrors. So bad though you think it is, it's probably worse than even that. So I mean, they'll just be, well, better the devil just get them in, see if we can, as you say, get people off their backs. But I don't see it being anything long term. Hearts, I don't know. You always think back to Aberdeen last year and the way they were just demolishing teams. So I hope Hearts are thereabouts come January. But it's the old cliche, isn't it? injuries and suspensions, but they'll
That's right.
certainly have a team pulling together. But they've definitely got a right good team spirit under McInnes, so that's got to stand them in good stead.
He's a proven winner. He's a solidifier of teams. You know, Kilmarnock he did well with. He done well with Aberdeen. They're always up there in the top half, top six. They won a trophy. He's a good man manager, and he's a good tactician. He'll do well for Hearts, I think. The other news that was this week, Glenn, you were at the game. There was a European match that you went to. We had to change the times over. And that was the turning point of Aberdeen's season, wasn't it?
Well, it might be a wee bit early to say it's a turning point, but I mean it's a turning point as far as performances are concerned. You know, they played well against a really decent outfit. You know, and you can talk budgets and all that. They have some really good players. Didn't get the result, but they did play well, and I was sitting there watching and thinking, all right, okay, we're playing on Sunday. I don't think I've got anything on with the kids. I'm gonna, I'll come in and I'll see how they get on against Dundee. And oh my God, the confidence they've taken from that game, it just shone right through. It's almost like a weight had been lifted, you know. Carlton. I think Carlson's just needed a little bit of time to get to know the players, and he's playing in a slightly different position. So most of his career he has been a winger, but they're playing him as like a second striker through the middle with the freedom to cut out in the wing as well. That guy there, his technique is amazing. You know, he's really he could probably be at the end of the season. I reckon if he carries on, he'll be in with a shout for player of the season if what he can do. I mean, I think they paid 10 million for him at Bologna, and that's a lot of money for Bologna as well. Remember, because they took Ferguson from us for about 3.5-4 million. You know, so for them to outlay that level of money, you know, he's a Sweden international. But anyway, his second goal was just class. I don't know if you saw it, guys, but he actually, he gets a nice layoff and pass into the box. He's surrounded by 3-4 Dundee players. He juggles it with his feet. He finds a gap and he blasts it into the top corner. You know, and he tried things the whole match, and also Gyamfi as well. He's so they got him from the second division in the Bundesliga. Now he is an under 21 German international. That was his best game for us. He's tiny, but he's rock solid. You know, I mean, he probably hasn't played that length of a match for a long time. He was constantly checking his hamstrings and his calves. So it's good that the break has come at this time, because he probably would have missed the next match. But he was really, really outstanding, and he took his goal well. He took it on his wrong foot, and he placed it just at the post, etc. Armstrong looked good. Lazatek got an assist. I mean, Aush had the great thinking to actually poke that ball in when he was in the box. No, it was really good.
It was. Chris, standout players for Aberdeen, apart from Carlson, was mentioned.
I thought Armstrong came in strong as well. He looked pretty good, and exactly. And he's got a shot on him that you're going to see come later in the season. But I think the word I'd be looking for is gelling right now. Aberdeen seem to. I heard all this stuff after the Shakhtar game, and I was like, yeah, that's great. I genuinely didn't believe it. I just thought, well, you can say whatever you want, really, to be honest. And Tulane probably lost that. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, Dundee, they caved in fairly quickly. But I would say with Carlson, I think what's happened with him, he's not up there in the Laudrup yet, but the same way when Laudrup first came to Rangers, he was doing all these things and players are sort of looking at him. So I think Carlson, there's a bit of a gap there between what he knows he can do and will do in the other teams. So I think the team have to work out what he's doing, and start getting on to sort of his mindset. Yeah. The guy does seem head and shoulders above them. So for me, just it was a demolition, right? That's the bottom line, and you can see it's a long time coming. But certainly the green shoots for the Shakhtar game wouldn't have led me to believe that what did happen would have happened. But it was a joy to watch.
One thing that changed when Devlin came on, Chris, against Shakhtar, we started moving up the park a bit more. He was running with the ball, taking it forward. And when he does that, he takes other players with him. And that's why I honestly think that Shakhtar Donetsk were on the ropes in the last 10 minutes. They were hanging on for that draw. And the ball could have dropped anywhere. We could have got a better result. Jimmy Tilleen, much maligned, even on this show, we've thought this is the end. Is he now a miracle man as well?
Jimmy, I don't know. Look, he's got a good result. He's got a good squad there. Hopefully, this turns it around. I don't know. We've got St Mirren away in the next fixture.
Oh,
that's tough, you know. So that'll be how we perform there against a really well organised St Mirren, who have, they've had a setback recently, but still that'll be they're always up for it. They're always good against us. They're hard to break down as well. They've got guys that can hurt you. So let's see. Chris is bang on when he says it's against Dundee. Dundee are bereft of confidence, and it's not the best quality squad, in the league. So yeah, we got a really good result. We played well. Let's see what we do in the next match. If I can just give a wee shout out as well. Jack Milne, honestly, Jack Milne has been immense in the last few games.
Yep.
And if we're looking to replace Hanley at any point, exactly. he's a really talented centre back, signed until 2029, so it's really good.
But the problem is, Glenn, we'll go back to this. Steve Clarke does not like changing. He doesn't like change. He sticks with his regulars, even if it's Hanley. And there you see a guy in top form. I mean, some of the skill set that guy was showing was extraordinary for his age. The confidence in the man. Well worth a punt. Ralston got in. He's not even getting a game for Celtic, The goalie's not even getting a game for his club.
None of them are.
I know. What is going on here? Get the players that are up front, Jack Millen and all the rest of it. The other thing that was happening is Hearts. I know there's a few Hearts guys who'll be watching this and they'll be wanting us to talk about their team. You mentioned it, Chris. It's difficult to sustain a campaign like this on a squad and the money that you haven't got compared to the Celtic and Rangers. That's why we're all having a bit of doubt, because Aberdeen were doing it this time last year and fell by the wayside. It is difficult, isn't it, for a team like Hearts to maintain this position?
I mean, money dictates it. There's no doubt about that. But if you remember last year, Aberdeen went to Celtic and pulled. I think they were 2-0 down, and they pulled it back, and everybody thought, well, that's the seal of approval there. They're going to take them all the way. But but again, a good team spirit. Loads of good wee players. Devlin as well. He's a great player, Australian international. So Rangers in disarray just now, and it's no. They're a lot worse than they were last year, both, I would say, financially and as a team. So they're there to be got at. There's no doubt about that. And I think getting the last-minute goal against Hibs as well, proves there's a bit of resilience in Hearts. So from a semi-neutral point of view, I would love them to be in that. They've got they're tied with that analysis. I think it's Anderson analysis. So they'll be getting some good stats there that can work with. So I hope it continues. Certainly, it's one of these things you don't want to be, presumptuous about it, but it'd be nice if it continued well into the new year, but more so if it continued because Hearts were doing well rather than Rangers were slitting up every week. That's what you'd really want, and breathing right down the necks of Celtic, because it's what the Scottish game needs.
Yes, Dundee United as well, Glenn, have been impressive. St Mirren, Motherwell. This league's looking really, really competitive this year for a change.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, well, obviously we're rock bottom, but from 11th to to 4th, there's only 3 points between them. It is competitive. I mean, we're just behind them. Almost every team can take points off each other. That's good. But then you look at Hearts. Hearts are doing really well just now. They're 9 points clear of Kilmarnock in 3rd place. Maybe the rest are mediocre, and Hearts are playing above themselves just now. Celtic not playing to their potential. It's interesting. I don't know. I mean, Hearts have got an advantage. They've picked a good season for it. Not like they've actually just went out there and said, "We'll do it this season." But they've got no Europe. so they can concentrate on the league. Celtic, I think, will ultimately prevail, but they've got their European matches, the Champions League, vital revenue for them. The money you get for winning, so they've got to juggle their squad more, kind of thing. I do think Hearts will probably invest a bit more if they're doing well round about end of December, January. I think they'll invest. They can't invest to the same extent as Celtic. I think Celtic just have too much money compared to the rest of Scottish football at this moment. It's very hard or to sustain. But I would say that if Hearts manage it really well, they've got a very, very good chance at second. And it's nice. It'd be nice to see a title race with a club out with the old firm.
I can't disagree with any of that, Chris. I think they've got the squad, they've got the players, they've got the fan base, they've got a bit of cash. I think they're in a better position than what Aberdeen were last time. And I think they've got a better manager. I think Jimmy Tillene was found out, his tactics were found out, and then teams could beat us after that. The Hibs game deflated us a wee bit. But with McInnes, he changes his team and he changes his tactics every week. The guy's a good manager.
Aberdeen let him go, but I think it would be a nice twist if Romanov turned up, in Leaf Docks with his yellow submarine full of money. just before the transfer window slams shut. So that would be box office. But that's what you want. You want a bit more investment into Hearts and a bit more people follow clubs for different historical reasons, but it would be nice to see a bit more a level playing field as far as investment goes, because you don't really know how far these other teams can go until they get some extra cash, and they'll never be on a par. But it would be nice, and I think yet again it would benefit the Scottish game.
It would benefit us. Dundee United, Glenn, from one team that's got the most Scottish players to Dundee United, who've got the least, i.e. none, Scottish players. But Jim Goodwin's getting a tune out of them. They're playing really well, getting the goals in, attacking, really fast-moving football. They're all fit as well.
Yeah, look, he's a good manager. He wasn't very good for Aberdeen, but he was in his previous post with St Mirren. So but I don't see. I think they'll struggle a bit. They started okay, but remember, they've won 2 matches in 6. Yes, they're 4th in the league, but if other teams below them win their matches, everybody leapfrogs them. There's nothing in this, this league at the moment. And remember, he's a manager that got Dundee United relegated and then struggled to get them back up. He has solidified them. He's got some decent players in there. Whether the big test for them will be, can they hold on to their vital players in January? If somebody comes in with a decent offer, will the club sell? Remember, this is if you go back to we're going back quite a wee while, but they were up there competing. They weren't going for the title or anything, but I think they were in 3rd place, and they sold 3 players to Celtic in March. Then they played them in the Scottish Cup final, and they got trounced. So if they can hold on to their players past January, they'll be top 6. Because it's a decent squad. It's not Scottish, unfortunately.
Just because I was speaking to a Dundee United fan, he was really cock a hoop about how they're playing and how they're getting on, and I thought, well, we'll have a look at it. We'll talk about it on the show. Motherwell, St Mirren in the League Cup final. It's a bit previous, but it is interesting that these 2 teams could make a final, and we know that this early in the season, Chris. What an opportunity to win a trophy this year. Because Motherwell are playing fantastic football.
They were really right unlucky to get beat against Celtic. I think we all predicted it would be a close game. And one of the boys I play fives with the Thursday night, he's in the Motherwell social, and he says that the manager's just typical Scandinavian, very laid back, and you go to Q&A and nothing's off topic. You can talk about anything, and he feels that the guy's genuine and he really wants to have a me and my pals used to say the family club, but he really wants a family atmosphere and the community to buy in. So it all seems like legitimate, and they're certainly buying into it. So the more of that, the better, rather than these things going on behind the scenes that the fans don't really understand, and money moving and that. So yeah, I think that the more the fans are invested in the way our clubs run, and I don't just mean be some fan becoming a director. I mean like literally having a say. Then it can only help Scottish football, definitely.
Definitely, because Glenn, you've been to Fir Park. Did I take? We went to Fir Park, didn't we?
Yeah, and I've been down a couple of times myself as well.
Yeah, and you get this family feel. There's bricks with supporters' names in the wall and stuff, and even David Patrick's great uncle from back when, he's got a brick up there. It is a family club, and it's a club run by supporters for supporters.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see. Sorry.
No, it's just healthy, and we need more of that in the game, because then we can see what the problems are in football. And it might be, look, there's a leaking part of the stadium. Only the fans can tell you that. If the next day it's a sunny day, they don't bother. And then they're there all the time. By the way, your prices for a doner pie are just out of this, bring them down. You've got a chance to have a voice within the club if you're a fan, and it's a fan-based club.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have really too many favourites or anything out with Aberdeen, but I like them. They're a well-run club. It's always normally a good experience when you go down there. And I'm intrigued to see how they'll actually invest the Lennon Miller money. They're playing well as it is just now. They've the team they've got in the park is playing good football. They've finally found a manager that's got them an identity, etc. I don't think they'll have to spend too much, but will they? Will they spend a bit in January? Or are they happy with what they've got? I mean, they've got that. Obviously, it's a semi-final they've got coming up against St Mirren. And they've got a chance to play in a cup final, which is tremendous. So it'll be a great match. Actually, I don't want to jinx it, because we did say that the Hearts Hibs game was going to be a great advert for Scottish football. There'll be lots of goals. There'll be entertaining, and I watched that, and it was unless you're one of their fans, it was fairly dire. But I hope that cup semi-final will be good. Of course, I mean, one of the Old Firm are going out, and Gerrard will be in taking the Old Firm. That'll be his first Old Firm match, isn't it? It's the start of November. Yeah, so interesting, yeah.
Very interesting. We're a wee bit over time, so we'll get the last question to hang over till next week, Glenn. See if we can get some people responded this time.
Okay, I hope I've worded this right. So just bear with me, and if you don't understand, just give me a shout. All right, which former Scotland international has led two different teams, to a combined 3 Scottish Championship titles as their manager in the last decade? So he's taken 2 different teams. He's won the Scottish Championship 3 times between these 2 teams, and it happened in the last decade. And he played for Scotland.
He played for Scotland. Oh. Wow. This is a Scottish manager.
Yep.
He's led 2 Scottish teams.
Yep.
To
3 championship titles. Not winning it's a Scottish Championship, so the division below the Premier League.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And it's in the last decade.
Who is ex-Scotland player that went into management? Was he a manager, or did they lead them as captains?
No, sorry, as a manager, sorry.
As manager. I don't know about you, Chris, but I've got nothing, absolutely empty on this one just now. But I will come back next week, and I promise you I won't Google this. I'll just try and work it out myself in my head. I've got, last week I done a 10K after the show. Tomorrow I'm away up Newtonmore. I'm climbing 5 Munros with a group. So that's my sport for the week. What's your sport, Chris? You got 5-a-side football.
I'm going to adopt St Bernard with a brandy barrel and be with you in spirit, I think. Aye, the 5s with me. I took Thursday night off there, but twice a week it'll be 5s. But I've got a wee cargo trailer for my bike, so that generally, if I'm in the area, you'll hear the car horns going. You'll know I'm there.
Glenn, what have you got sport-wise?
Not quite sport. I'm going to gym tomorrow in the morning, and then I'm off to watch my eldest lad, play football, and then I'm going to try, hopefully, watch Scotland and Belarus and not cry, greet, or anything. Hopefully, I'll have a smile on my face on Sunday.
Aye, and we'll all take a 1-0 win.
Absolutely.
Aye. Well, that's it, folks. Join us next week where we get the answer to the question tonight, and we'll be back with more sport, typically Scottish. But for the time being, just now, look after yourselves. Bye for now.
Cheers. All the best.
Cheers, everybody.